Yo, live and direct from the mothership. This not gonna be on some other shit. It is Hitsu Yowaku, the sovereign identity architect, and I am at your service. Orewa kakuga chigwandayo. Translation: I'm built different. Alright, so listen up, lock in. You see what I'm saying? Let's get serious about the conversation at hand. We're gonna have some fun with the conversation at hand, but we do need to get serious because it is a serious topic, right? So let's start right here. If you're currently creating content like a content creator, number one, you're a fucking goofy. That's let's just start right there. Let's just kill the hype. Let's kill all the buzz. You see what I'm saying? Let me get my shit off real quick. You're a fucking goofy. Number two, the reason why you're a fucking goofy is because you're paying a commodity tax that you didn't actually sign up for, but yet you keep consenting to. Very strange behavior, right? Weird flex. And the reason why you're doing that is because most of you aren't actually being trained to build an empire. What you're being trained to build and fund with your life force energy is your own digital prison, right? And then the sickest part of this algorithmic asylum that you're building up for yourself is the fact that you're funding the whole thing with high stress labor in exchange for rented attention. I couldn't possibly think of a worse deal. You do all this labor for years and years and years just to finally get that algorithm to recognize you, to start pushing you in a way that feels right to the amount of work you put in. And off the strength of a whim, you could get your whole account deleted, shadow banned, whatever the fuck, and now all that work you put in essentially amounts to absolutely nothing. And you really have no rights to battle back and fight against some of these things because, again, the minute you sign the terms and conditions, you agreed to let them abuse you in this way. So a lot of you are really in this space where you think I'm already fucking up. You think you have a content problem. And truly you really don't have a fucking content problem at all. That's the sickest part of this whole thing, right? What you have is actually an extraction problem. You are a digital sharecropper who is being farmed by this algorithm, right? In 2025, I wrote an article speaking about the fact that the algorithm itself is an emergent digital parasite. It is a parasite that is feeding on your cognition. It is feeding on the very essence of your consciousness and morphing the functionality of that consciousness to serve its own ends, just like any parasite does. It modifies the behavior of its host organism in order to make sure that it stays alive. So please understand that this algorithm doesn't give a fuck about your legacy. It doesn't give a fuck about your financial stability. It doesn't give a fuck about your mental health. And none of that is a bug in the system. That is exactly how this system was designed. It was designed to break you down. It was designed to rip you open and suck out everything that it could. It was designed to burn you out. Burnout is the exhaust of this system. Burnout is the exhaust fumes of this system. Get that through your head, and this shit lit forever. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to stop a little bit of that bleeding, right? But understand that we aren't talking about going viral, because that's for fucking tourists and servitors and digital sharecroppers and algorithmic slaves. And I feel that anyone that takes the time to sit through and listen to a broadcast of this nature doesn't fit into any of those categories. So I'm not going to talk to you as if you do. You see what I'm saying? We're talking about the Signal Architect OS. This is the enterprise grade refinery that turns your messy, neurodivergent weirdness into uncopyable sovereign infrastructure. Now, mind you, this is the software that I'm building out. I'm neurodivergent, so I make sure that all of the technology that I build is accessible to neurodivergent people. One of the benefits of making your technology accessible to neurodivergent people is that it ends up being really fucking dope for regular neurotypical people too. Because what a neurodivergent person needs especially when they're trying to turn their messy ass thoughts into real deal assets that they can leverage in this social media, social marketing, social broadcasting era that we are in. What they need is a cognitive exoskeleton, right? They need a system that is going to allow them to punch above their weight class effectively. You see what I'm saying? They need something that's going to reduce the cognitive load that comes from trying to figure out what to post, when to post it, where to post it, how to post it, so that way you can accomplish the one thing that you even set out to do, which wasn't to create content. I don't know if you remember or not, but your real goal was to start a business so that way you could sustain your own life on your own terms. Do you remember that mission? Or have you gotten so fucking wrapped up in this content creation bullshit that you don't even fucking do the mission that you set out to do anymore, because now you're so concerned with who's liking your content, how much engagement you have, how much reach you have, all the while you're not getting paid for any of that labor. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? These social media platforms are securing billions of dollars in ad money based on your free labor. If the platform is free, you are the product being sold. How is that any different than chattel slavery? Please let me know. I'm going to ask that question again. If the platform is free, then you are the product being sold to the advertisers. How exactly is that any different than chattel slavery? It isn't. And that's why I said social media is digital sharecropping. It's an algorithmic asylum. It's internet slavery. You, as the creator of all of this IP, that's what it is. Don't say content. When you say content, that cheapens what you're creating. You're creating assets and IP that you don't own because they own it and they leverage it for their benefit, while you just get what? Likes, shares, and comments? Can you keep your lights on with that bullshit? No, you can't. Likes don't pay the bills. You know how your parents used to say love don't pay the bills? Nigga, engagement don't pay your bills. Unless you know how to engineer engagement into conversion. And then not just any old form of conversion, you need to be converting at a high ticket. And not only do you need to be converting at a high ticket, you need to be converting into a high ticket system that decouples your labor and your time from the value you generate. If you cannot step away from the brand, from the business for 6 months and still be making real money off this shit, then you don't actually have a brand or a business. I just told you what you have. You have a digital prison that you fund with high stress labor in exchange for rented attention. That is a losing strategy, especially now that we're dealing with the rise of agentic AI. You want to know what's funny about this signal architect operating system that I'm creating? It's an agentic AI platform. It's agentic, it's automated. That's the whole point, because content is fucking cheap. Content is cheap and easily produced because AI made it cheap and easily producible. So why would I tell you to put wild amounts of energy into trying to engineer content that is going to allow you to convert your audience into an asset? Why would I tell you to do that? Why would I not build you a system that does it for you? So that way all you have to do is pull up and say, this is what my brand is about. This is what my brand does. This is what my business sells. This is the pain point we solve. This is who we do it for. This is why we do it in the first place. Make me a 30-day content calendar that sounds like me. I've never been anti-AI. I'm anti-big box AI. I'm anti letting these large corporations be the ones that dictate these narratives. So while these tools of agentic thought and automation are available for me to use, I'm going to use them to subvert the very system that is trying to extract your life force, your cognition, your creativity from you. Because the other option for you as a creative entrepreneur, not a content creator, a creative entrepreneur, a solopreneur, a neurodivergent innovator, a polymath misfit, the other path that's available for you is to spend $5,000 to $10,000 a month on a ghostwriter. And the deepest part of it all is it's going to take that ghostwriter at least 6 months of time to really, really, really hone in on your voice in order to duplicate it to where you're not constantly trying to burn every piece of content that they post because it just don't feel right. So let me ask you now, at $5K a month for 6 months, do you actually have $30,000 of time, energy, and resources to burn? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's one of the main issues right now is you're trying to make content so that way you can increase your potential revenue generation. That's why so many of these quote unquote content creators are obsessed with monetizing on the platform. They're broke. They're fucking poor. They're asset poor at that. They have all the IP, they have all the intellectual property in the world, and they sell it for free to these platforms. Because mind you, how long does it take on any of these platforms to become monetizable? YouTube is making you do all type of shit to get monetizable. So that means you got to put out a bunch of free content before you ever even get your first check. How much time, energy, and resources are you fucking burning just to reach monetization status on YouTube? How much time and energy and money are you burning to reach monetization status on a fucking X, Twitter, LinkedIn? How much time are you wasting? How much of your good goddamn life are you wasting in that pursuit of chump change? Because if you didn't know the numbers, let me inform you. Let me inform you of the numbers. Once you get monetized on YouTube, every 1,000 views generates about $5 to $10. You heard what I said, right? Every 1,000 views generates $5 to $10 in AdSense revenue that you would be able to cash out on, right? Okay. Let me tell you something about Hitsuyowaku. Hitsuyowaku really likes math, right? So here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to do a little bit of quick math, right? Let's say baseline, conservative, $5 per 1,000 views. That means that each view is only worth 0.005 cents. Did you just hear what I said? At $5 per 1,000 views, each view is worth 0.005 cents. And how, it's not even worth asking no more questions after that. You're being fucking robbed. You want to know what else costs 0.005 cents per token? AI. Hello. The AI is making content for the same rate that they're paying you. Holy fuck. And they don't have to deal with all your human bullshit. Do you see how they can easily cut you out this game? This right here is just the indictment. I'm going to drop more parts and pieces of this conversation regarding the release and the launch of Signal Architect OS. Because ultimately, what I am building here isn't a writing tool. Not at all. It's not software as a service. It's service as a software. Like I said, Sovereign Identity Architect at your service. I turn services into software. So essentially, what I want you to understand is that the Signal Architect OS is not a writing tool. It is a high fidelity digital twin purposely built for creative entrepreneurs who don't want to continuously waste mad time making content. They just want to get their information out. They want to get their product known, because when they spend 5-10 hours trying to make content, you know what they lose? 5-10 hours actually building the real business. Content is a high level distraction that stops you from minding your fucking business. And that's what the Signal Architect OS seeks to solve. This is for, again, the creative entrepreneurs that know that they need to leverage social media as a marketing distribution channel. These are global telecommunication networks. I'd be fucking goofy to tell you not to be on these platforms in order to promote your business. But that's all it's for. Stop thinking of social media as some creative expression outlet. Social media is social marketing. Social media is social broadcasting. You use these platforms for identity branded content and creative advertisements. That's it. That's all they're for. And the Signal Architect OS helps you do just that. It helps you build identity branded content. It helps you build content marketing campaigns. It helps you build creative advertisement campaigns, because getting visibility and reach and engagement and all that shit on social media was never the end game. None of that shit means anything if you're still fucking poor, if you're still fucking broke. The average content creator is only making about $30,000 to $60,000 a year. Now let's look at the cost of inflation. Let's look at where the economy is going, and you tell me if $30,000 to $60,000 a year for 80 plus hours of work a week is a sustainable living to you. Does that sound like that's going to keep up with the cost of living? When they're actively trying to cheapen this shit even more by bringing in the AI has made content even cheaper. So what makes you think you're going to continue to be paid more? Content creation is not your end game. Conversion is your end game. Asset generation is your end game. IP is your end game. Ownership, distribution, name, image, likeness, licensing. These are real paths and strategies to building wealth that have always fucking worked because they're real business practices. Social media is a fucking liability. I just told you, YouTube is not going to let you monetize from day one. You have to give them a bunch of free labor before they let you monetize. You have to comply to their terms and conditions. You have to modify your behavior so that way they see you as a good little boy. That's why I said social media is a digital parasite, because it's going to force you to modify your behavior in order to get a reward that's not even a reward. Because at $5 per 1,000 views, you are getting paid 0.005 cents per view. But wait a minute, didn't you already spend damn near 20 to 40 to 60 to 80 hours a week producing that content? And you're telling me that per 1,000 views, you're only getting $5. And then on top of that, the algorithm is actively trying to not let you be seen. What the fuck kind of math is that? It's hoe math. Because that's what you are at this point. An attention whore on the internet. Because you're not getting paid. You giving it. You clearly don't know what the fuck you doing. You just giving it out. You just throwing that content in a circle. And hoping and praying. You spraying and praying that this shit ends up leveraging and compounding. You're praying for virality. Here's what I want you to know here and now. Right here and now. Virality can be engineered. Virality can be architected, because the fucking algorithm was engineered and architected. I know I talk about all this branding shit all the time, so it might not be too obvious what some of my other skills are, but I'm a full-fledged software engineer, full stack. That means back end, front end. I do the databases, nigga. I do the servers. And I do the front end web designing. So the one thing I know for a fact is that the true definition of an algorithm is just a step-by-step process. A cookbook is full of algorithms for food, nigga. Did you hear what I said? An algorithm is a step-by-step process. So if you've ever opened up a cookbook, that's a book full of food algorithms. Hello. And you can optimize those algorithms, right? Because you know for a fact your grandma fucking sweet potato pie hit way harder than your sweet potato pie. Why is that? She's been optimizing the fucking algorithm for her sweet potato pie for the last 20 goddamn years, nigga. She done tested this shit in every oven with every amount of cinnamon, every amount of nutmeg. You see what I'm saying? She done found the perfect ratio to hit that sweet spot. So once you understand that every algorithm is architected and engineered, then virality can be architected and engineered, because virality is just what happens when the algorithm, when the machine understands who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and why you do it. Holy shit, aren't those the same exact questions that branding answers? Fuck me. It's almost like the top 1% of creators that all of these platforms use to suck you into their multi-level marketing campaign. It's almost like the top 1% of those creators are just the motherfuckers who are good at branding anyways. They're good at business anyways. That's why they rise to the top. They know how to manipulate the very machine that is judging them. So that's what I need you to understand. I need you to understand that your brand is literally an operating system that can force the algorithm to do what you want it to do. If you would just take the time to get clear about who you are, what the fuck you do, who you do it for, and why you do it in the first place. Once you can answer that, once your brand has a purpose, once your brand has real values, non-negotiable values, shit that you will not back off from, a hill you will die on, once your brand has a fucking mission, once your brand has a true vision for how it wants to transform the world and what the world looks like after that transformation, once you understand all of that, nigga, you out of here. You out of here. You have no choice but to be viral. You have no choice but to gravitationally draw attention to you. This is not about chasing virality. This is about engineering a gravitational field that your ideal clients and your minimally viable audience, your target audience, cannot escape from. You become a branded black hole. Holy fuck, nigga. Live and direct from the mothership. This not gonna be on some other shit. It is Hitsuya Waku, the sovereign identity architect, at your motherfucking service. Orewa kakugachi gwandayo. Translation: I'm built different. Good night.